Welcome to Unleash the Awesome with Dave Gambrill. All of us have unique skills, talents, and abilities that aren't being used to their full potential. Our mission is to share the people, tools, apps, and other resources that will help you unleash your awesome on the world.
Yo, what's up? It's Dave. Welcome to another episode of Unleash the Awesome. Today, let's talk about change. Change. Yes, change. A lot of people see change as a threat, not an opportunity. They're happy with the status quo. As a matter of fact, our biology and our biochemistry is set up such that we actually really like the status quo because our body is set up to save us from danger or move us towards pleasure, right? So if we were in a comfortable, somewhat pleasurable situation, the temperature is okay, we don't have a saber-toothed tiger coming to kill us, we are in a comfortable situation, our body actually likes that. So we don't want the change because our body's job is to keep us alive, right? So if we're in a good, quote, safe, if we think we're safe situation, we don't like change. So change actually goes against our biology and our biochemistry in many ways. But the reality is things are changing, and things are changing more rapidly than any time in my lifetime, right? As I think about growing up, there were some changes. Like I was born in the early 1970s, and growing up, we had some things that changed, but they didn't change very quickly. And then once computers started to move into the household and be part of some people's life, right? They weren't ubiquitous, but there were personal computers, the Commodore, the TI-99 and the Commodore 64 and the Commodore 128. They were starting to move in, and you could start to dial into bulletin board systems on computers and get access to stuff. It wasn't quite the internet, but it was the precursor to that. All this stuff started to happen, right? Things started changing a little faster. And then there's this thing called Moore's Law that says, computing power is essentially doubling every year. So if you think back to like the mid 80s where computers started coming into the household, and now computers, there's probably not many things in your house that doesn't have a computer. And there's refrigerators now that you can surf the internet on. I'm not sure why you want to do that, but there are computers that in some refrigerators that will help you reorder stuff online. So if you're running out of milk or whatever, you can scan the barcode and it will send the order directly to your grocery store, and then you could have those groceries delivered. Pretty amazing, right? So things are changing. Things are changing very fast. And as human beings, we're not used to that pace of change. And one of the most difficult things to do, to figure out, is not learning how to do the new things, right? You can figure that out, and you can work through some things, and you can read a book, or you can get a course, or you can get a coach or a mentor that can help you move through some of the changes, learn the new things that you need, learn the new skills. But the hardest thing to do with change is to unlearn what you already know, which is probably not true anymore, right? So there's so many things that if you experienced when you were growing up and you just said like, okay, this is it, right? Early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. Like, okay, maybe that's true in a lot of cases, but there's some science that says that night owls tend to be more creative, and maybe that's better for you. Who knows? There's a lot of books that talk about getting up early. Not a whole lot of books that talk about, staying up late. Maybe that's a thing. Who knows? But if those are things that are cemented into your psyche, into your biology, like that's something you believe, right? Better safe than sorry. Penny saved is a penny earned, like that kind of stuff. Then it's hard for you to move into the things that are changing, right? Because a penny saved is a penny earned. If you think about that one, right now in the United States, anyway, in the year 2021, if you were just saving money, if you were putting money into a savings account and you just have a cash position in a savings account at the bank, you were actually losing money. So a penny saved is not a penny earned because you're earning such a small amount of interest that you're actually losing buying power because of inflation. Inflation is not that high right now, but it's higher than the amount of interest that you get in a savings account, right? So a penny saved is a penny earned is not accurate anymore in that scenario, right? You have to maybe go to the other side of nothing ventured, nothing gained. So at some point you have to put some of that capital to work for you, and there's other investments and stuff you can put in there, right? But if you believe firmly that a penny saved is a penny earned, and you don't believe in investments or buying real estate or equities, and you save your money in a mattress or dig a hole and put it in your backyard or something, that currency is going to lose its buying power. So what you have to do is unlearn that, and that's a deeply rooted habit. You have to unlearn that and then say, okay, based on the current reality, based on what's happening right now, or better yet, based on the change that I'm learning to see coming, right? Because sometimes if it's already here, sometimes it's too late to take advantage of things, right? To be able to leverage things. Sometimes you have to see it coming. You have to see it before the tipping point. But if you unlearn that old idea and then say, okay, I have to put some money at play here and invest in it, then you start moving to the nothing ventured, nothing gained category instead of penny saved is a penny earned, right? So there's all these things. And as parents, that's one of the things that I struggle with my kids. I have 2 boys in their young 20s, and then one is in high school. And as I share with them things, ideas, concepts about how to not only survive, but thrive in life, I really have to steel myself against the idea of telling them how I did things. Sometimes I share it as a way of history or just baselining things, but a lot of the stuff that I did when I was their age is not applicable anymore, right? All the crazy, dumb things that I did when I was in middle school and high school are not on social media, are not being recorded for everybody to see. Now, pretty much everything they do ends up online. And so there's a different way you have to act. There's a different way you have to go through life. There's some other things that you have to be concerned with, right? So that has changed. So there's so many things that are changing. And I know that human beings in general see change as a threat versus an opportunity, like I said at the beginning. So one of the things I would encourage you to think about is as things are changing, and things have changed in this last year faster than ever, right? The COVID-19 situation has had a lot of things change for a lot of people. Whole industries have changed. Whole jobs have changed. Whole jobs have been eliminated. Brand new things have popped up as opportunities, right? But if you start seeing yourself feeling like you are being threatened by a change, you have to figure out some pattern interrupt for yourself and say, why am I afraid here? What's going on? Why do I not like this change? And then see if it's a realistic fear. It very well could be, but oftentimes the fear is not of the change, it's of the not knowing the future or not feeling like you have the skills or the talent or the ability to make the change, to pivot, to do the new thing. But the reality is, right, if you're an Atari repair person, right, the game console, or you're a typewriter repair person, there's probably not a whole lot of demand for that skill set. Now, maybe for typewriters now, because there are a handful of them, and if you survive this long, then you're in a very niche audience and you're probably in good shape, right? But as computers started coming on the scene and you were a typewriter repair person, if you didn't start moving to keyboards and computers and learning how to repair them, you probably got run over by the change, right? I'm sure there's a lot of people that lost their typewriter repair business. So think about how you are set up from a skill standpoint, from a financial standpoint, to weather the inevitable changes that are coming in both the economy, but also the industry that you're in, what's happening in the United States, what's happening in how other countries are reacting to things. Are you positioning yourself well for the change? And you have to get really good at unlearning and then learning the new stuff and then applying it, right? So unlearn, learn, and then apply. And if you listen to one of the episodes early on, I can't remember exactly which episode it is, but I did an episode called the OODA Loop, where I talked about that's Colonel John Boyd from the Air Force came up with this idea, the OODA Loop. It stands for Observe, Orient, Decide, and Act. And it's a loop: observe, orient, decide, and act. So as you're going through these changes, as you see things coming, observe the situation, orient. This is where people get uncomfortable. Observe the situation, and then they get uncomfortable with the orientation of, oh my gosh, I am not prepared for this thing. We're not ready for what's coming. We're not, like, the current situation, the current reality that I have is going to disappear. My job is going to disappear. My industry is going to disappear, whatever. So you observe, then you get this orientation, but then you have to decide, right? If you come to that conclusion, decide right then, I need to start changing. I need to reskill. I need to learn a new skill set. I need to do something different to put myself in a position to be successful as this change comes, because the change is coming whether you want it or not. The change is coming whether you like it or not. Change is going to come. It's inevitable. And just about everything you do in your life, change is going to come. So are you capable of putting yourself in a situation to observe, orient, and then make the decision, that's the D in OODA, to decide, okay, we're going to do something different. And then A is act, take the action. So learn the new thing, learn the new skills, put the new things into play. That's why I'm such a big fan of starting a side hustle. That gets you going with a proof of concept that's outside of something that you're doing with your regular 9-to-5 job or whatever. Then you're building a skill set, you're building some confidence in the ability to pivot and do something else. And then should that happen to you, should it be forced upon you, should that change come way faster than you were expecting, at least you have built up some confidence and some skills and some talents and some abilities outside of the thing that you currently do. And then you'll be in a much better position to not only survive, but actually thrive. Okay, so change is coming, whether you want it or not. The question is, are you going to adapt to that change? Eric Hoffer had this great quote, and I always mess it up, so I'm going to paraphrase it. But generally, he says, learners are going to be in a great position to adapt, to thrive in the current environment that we have. It's the people who think they know everything, the learned, that are going to be in a situation where they're uniquely qualified to exist in a world that is no longer here, right? Going back to the typewriter repair person. If you think that's the only skill you need to learn and that's what you've learned, and then we all evolved to computers and you're still trying to fix a typewriter, the demand for your services have gone way down and you're going to be in a really bad spot. So my encouragement to you would be, assess your situation. If you want to, go listen. I did a much deeper dive on the OODA loop. It's one of the first 4 or 5 episodes of this podcast. Go listen to that. That'll help you through these changes. But you have to get good. You have to get better probably than you currently are. And even I am okay at this, but I know I need to refine it. Understanding the changes, understanding what's coming, looking a little bit into the future and saying, okay, how do I cushion myself? How do I prepare myself and my family for the inevitable that's coming? How do I get them set up, right? Another example I'll give you with my kids. I've said to them as they're picking courses and things in high school, their electives and picking their major and stuff in college, I was telling them about, listen, there's going to be some industries that robotics and things are just going to get rid of altogether. So I wouldn't think about going in some of those areas. But one of the things robotics is going to have a hard time, or artificial intelligence, a hard time doing, is creative thought, selling, public speaking, logistics and supply chain, right? They might be able to figure some of that out. But look at all the things that have happened in the last year with COVID. And then recently we had this ship that was stuck in the Suez Canal. Like, artificial intelligence will teach you how to optimize what's already going on, but they couldn't have predicted those things. And then when those things happen, you still need human beings to put the inputs into the computers to say, wow, we have a significant change here. How do we make some changes here, right? So my kids are taking courses in public speaking and selling and business and things like that, because you're always going to have those things around. They're not taking classes in how to be a typewriter repair person. So even those things are critical as you're having decisions with your children and help guide them. Are you encouraging them to do things that are going to position them for success, for the changes that are coming? And that's one of the hardest things, is because I feel like, especially for kids in school right now, there's this thought that as soon as a textbook gets published, it's outdated, right? The change is happening so fast that when you go through all the process of publishing an actual textbook, which takes years, and they got to proofread it and edit it and all those things, and then they put it out, like, the world has already gone past that, right? So with the exception of maybe history books, where you would need to go back and look at history and study history, like, everything else is changing. Technology, science, everything. And so I think our kids are in a better position because they're living through this right now. But for those of us that have been around since the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, even the 90s, things were not changing that fast back then. And they're changing at lightning speed now. And you just have to get more comfortable with how to adapt to those changes. So changes are coming, my friend. The question is, are you going to learn how to get comfortable being uncomfortable and preparing yourself for those changes? And my advice to you would be, figure it out. Figure out how to do it, because change is coming whether you like it or not. All right, so that's it for today's episode of Unleash the Awesome. Until next time, go out and adapt to the changes. Do some new things so you can unleash your awesome, but also help those around you unleash their awesome on the world. See ya.
Thanks for listening to Unleash the Awesome. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to your podcasts. And please share us on your favorite social media platforms using #UnleashAwesome.